Soon she'll wake and paint again.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an amazing turn-based RPG released in 2025. Nobody was expecting much of the game, but it showed us that a AA game can be a masterpiece and is surely going to be one of the nominees of the Game Awards this year.
You're only going to make things worse for everyone.
No. She chose to come. I didn't make the rules between you two.
You're fighting.
The game was developed by the studio Sandfall Interactive and released in April of 2025 to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows directly on Xbox Game Pass. So if you didn't play it yet, do. Especially if you use Game Pass, it'll hook you in the first 30 minutes of the game.
I thought I was used to losing people.
Yeah, me too.
The game mixes exploration, combat, and one of the most original and immersive storylines I've ever seen. In the first minutes of gameplay you'll already like that universe and characters, and from there on, it'll surprise you more and more. The combat is in a turn-based style, but is probably the best game to start playing this kind of game if you never played some, cause it's not just press a button and wait, you gotta make it happen, by quick time events to increase the damage. You'll also need to dodge or parry enemies' attacks, otherwise you won't get far in the game, cause it may be challenging in some moments, so just do a favor to yourself and play it.
Our Expedition 33.
So why'd you leave Boston?
The Last of Us is one of the best story games ever created. Story will hook you in the first hour. As you start playing you'll behold the horror that the characters are facing in what seems their darkest hour, and it'll shock you in the first minutes.
I've been on quite the adventure, little brother.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
The game was developed by the studio Naughty Dog, a legendary PlayStation studio, creators of Uncharted, Crash Bandicoot and more. The Last of Us was first released in 2013 on PlayStation 3, but nowadays you can play it on PlayStation 4 with the remastered version or PlayStation 5 and PC with the remake.
Can it?
Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about.
In a ravaged civilization where infected and hardened survivors run rampant, Joel, a weary protagonist, is hired to smuggle 14-year-old Ellie out of a military quarantine zone. However, what starts as a small job soon transforms into a brutal cross-country journey, all with a great storytelling and an immersive gameplay, with stealth combat, with weapons and firearms, also with exploration and management that will easily get you thinking about the game all the time.
In this world, that's good for one thing. Get you killed.
I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
I get in trouble down there. You make every shot count.
I got this.
The killer left the heart next to the body. This wasn't some random act of violence. This was a ritual.
Alan Wake 2 is a unique horror game with an amazing storytelling that unfortunately didn't get all the attention deserved, but is surely one of the most original games ever and one of the best horror games of history.
There's something I'm forgetting. Something important.
The game was developed by Remedy Entertainment and released in 2023 to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. It was even competing for the Game of the Year award in the Game Awards, but Baldur's Gate 3 was the winner as we know. But my favorite game of that year is Alan Wake 2. It's a sequel of the original game released in 2010 that was an insane horror video game with an impressive story and storytelling, and in the second game they rose it to another level with impressive realistic graphics and one of the most immersive gameplays I've ever seen, mixing terrifying moments with insane puzzles and an amazing feature of the game that allow you to connect points of the story in your own mind. What's a very interesting mechanic here?
A page of text written with a typewriter. Someone's been watching us.
How do you run from an idea? From a story that lives in your head? I need to escape this nightmare.
The soundtrack is another amazing part of the game, with original and amazing songs, and the audio design is as good as a horror game needs it to be. And don't worry, you won't understand 100% of the story in the first gameplay, but is a game that will get you thinking about it for a long time.
Show me that.
but I'll look after you.
The Walking Dead is an amazing game for people that like story-focused games and zombies, set in the universe of The Walking Dead, but with its own characters, being considered by many even better than the main series.
Well, I reckon you didn't do it then.
Why do you say that?
It was developed by the studio Telltale and released in 2012, winning as the best game of that year, beating games like Far Cry 3, Mass Effect 3, Borderlands 2, and more. It was released to basically all platforms since 2012, even cell phones, so if you've never played it and like the theme, it's an amazing
People
game.
up and go mad when they believe their life is over.
In the road!
This other time...
Play as Lee Everett, a convicted criminal who has been given a second chance at life in a world devastated by the undead, with corpses returning to life and survivors stopping at nothing to maintain their own safety. Protecting an orphan girl named Clementine may offer him redemption in a world gone to hell. A game with a cartoon graphic style, a simple gameplay where the main objectives are investigate and choose what to do or say, yet the game is able to make you don't want to stop playing, as the story is so immersive and good that every new event make you wonder what will happen next.
Not bitten.
Bad things happen to everyone. It's hard to keep being yourself after they do.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a masterpiece of video games with unbelievable graphics, an immersive story, and simply the most alive world I've ever seen in a game.
Abigail says he's dying, Dutch. We'll have to stop someplace.
Okay, Arthur's out looking. I sent him up ahead.
The game was developed by the studio Rockstar Games, a legendary studio, probably the best one creating open-world action games nowadays, and it was released in 2018 to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. Unfortunately, there's no upgrade to the current generation so far, but I'm sure it's coming out in some moment.
Nothing more you could have done.
What are we gonna do? We need supplies. Well, first of all, you're gonna stay here, and you are gonna get yourself warm. Now, I sent John and Micah scouting out ahead.
The story follows Arthur Morgan, a new protagonist of the series, and here, you'll live like a true outlaw in the ending of the 19th century, with incredible characters by your side, making the immersion of the game to be even greater. It's realist in many details, since the gameplay, to the story, and how the whole open world works, since the animals, to the seasons, NPCs, and random events around the world. It'll all make your experience even more alive. So if you're interested in an immersive storyline, this game is perfect.
But we lost some folks. Now, if I could throw myself in the ground in their stead, I'd do it gladly. But we're gonna ride out and we're gonna find some food. Everybody, we're safe now.
James? Honey? Did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful.
Silent Hill 2 Remake is the returning of one of the best survival horror games ever released, with an amazing story, immersive universe, and enemies with a deep and terrifying meaning.
You loved her, didn't you?
The original game was developed by Konami and released in 2001, but the remake was developed by the studio Bloober team and released in 2024 to PlayStation 5 and later to PC, and is one of the best survival horror games ever released.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful.
Investigating a letter from his late wife, James returns to where they made so many memories, Silent Hill. What he finds is a ghost town, prowled by disturbing monsters and cloaked in deep fog. Confront the monsters, solve puzzles, and search for traces of your wife in the remake of an iconic survival horror. The game follows the same style and personality of the original game, where even the limitations of the generation also became a feature of the game. The combat is not like a Resident Evil game. The firearms are powerful, but the ammo is not so abundant in the game, so your main weapon will be the melee. What makes the whole experience even more frightening.
Oh, there do I see my mother. Oh, there do I see my father. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me.
That bow's a little big for you, isn't it?
My mother made it for me. Said I'd grow into it.
Find your way home.
God of War 2018 is the returning of Kratos to the video games after a long time. The game was developed by Santa Monica and released in 2018 to PlayStation 4 and later to PlayStation 5 and Windows. Even got the Game of the Year award that year. But for me, Red Dead Redemption 2 still deserved more. But despite it, God of War is an amazing action-adventure game experience with many RPG mechanics, like levels, armors, items, and much more. This is the first Kratos' game outside of his original mythology, and he's now in the Norse mythology, with new gods, places, characters, and much more. The game itself is totally different of the classic games. Kratos is no longer the most brutal thing in the universe. He's older now, wiser, and that's really interesting to see this side of him. But if you played you now, he's still really brutal, but in specific moments. The combat of the game is really fun, kinda inspired in Souls-like games with nice boss fights, great soundtrack, and a very good storyline, getting you hooked right in the start.
But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it.
Open the door! We need your help!
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that.
Are you prepared to suffer to save your son? You have 5 minutes to cut off the last section of one of your fingers in front of the camera. If you succeed, you will get your reward.
Agent Norman Jaden, FBI.
Heavy Rain was one of the first games in its style that was a true success. It was developed by the studio Quantic Dream and released in 2010 to PlayStation 3 and eventually to PlayStation 4 and Windows. In the game you'll experience a gripping psychological thriller filled with innumerable twists and turns. The hunt is on for a murderer known only as the Origami Killer. For characters, each following their own leads, must take part in a desperate attempt to prevent the killer from claiming a new victim. Controlling multiple characters, in an extremely immersive story, you'll discover more and more things about each one of them, and try to solve the main base of the game. That's who's the one killing innocent people. The gameplay is simple. You can walk and interact with things and people. The most important things are the dialogues, what can change the events and ending of the game. So believe me, you'll be really shocked with the plot twist of the game, but you'll need to play to see it.
My name's Scott Shelby. I'm a private detective. I'm investigating the case of the Origami Killer.
I'd like a room.
Madison Page, 27, Tingle.
Ethan Mars has had psychological problems since his first son died. Feels responsible for his death. He is haunted by visions of drowning bodies. A few weeks ago, after one of our usual sessions, I found this on the floor. It must have fallen out of his pocket.
BioShock Infinite is so far the last experience of an acclaimed first-person shooter series, the third and also most different game, being set in a style with more action and less horror, but with the most immersive and best story of the series. It was developed by the studio Irrational Games and released in 2013 to Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, but later it was also released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch in a remastered version with all other two games. Indebted to the wrong people, with his life on the line, veteran of the U.S. Cavalry and now hired gun, Booker DeWitt has only one opportunity to wipe his slate clean. He must rescue Elizabeth, a mysterious girl imprisoned since childhood and locked up in the flying city of Columbia. The gameplay, different of the first games, is now more similar to other first-person shooters, with many weapons, bullets, and a lot of enemies in the screen. You don't need to choose the way to deal with them, as it won't be hard to find more ammo. But the story here's brilliant, with an amazing storytelling that will make you get hooked in the first hours of gameplay. Life is Strange is one of the biggest games, almost totally focused in the story and storytelling, creating one of the most immersive and original stories in video games history. The game was developed by the studio Dontnod Entertainment and was released to all platforms since then, except the current generation, but you can play on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series through the One and PS4 version. And yes, it's also available on iOS and Android.
So what do you want? You don't know who the fuck I am!
What are you doing? Get that gun away from me, psycho! No!
Follow the story of Max Caulfield, a photography senior who discovers she can rewind time while saving her best friend Chloe Price. The pair soon find themselves investigating the mysterious disappearance of fellow student Rachel Amber, uncovering a dark side to life in Arcadia Bay. Meanwhile, Max must quickly learn that changing the past can sometimes lead to a devastating future. A game with a thrilling and immersive story that will hook you in the first hour of gameplay, mixing interesting features and choices that will lead you to different events, even changing the end of the game.
You know how much this fucking outfit costs? You look great. I can't even chill on the steps.
Okay.
No way! No fucking way!
You okay, Victoria?
Oh, Sammy, oh, sorry.